All right, welcome to your deep dive. You shared some sources on habits, and you mentioned you wanted to learn more efficiently.
Yeah.
So we're going to be taking Atomic Habits by James Clear
Okay.
and a few other pieces, and we're going to see if we can't turn you into a learning machine.
Yeah.
All through the power of habit. Buckle up.
Oh, I love it.
It's going to be fun.
A learning machine. Yeah. And you know what's so cool about that is it's not even just about like what you learn,
Right.
but it's how you learn. And I think that that's really where the habits come into play.
Absolutely. Okay, so before we jump into the how-to, let's rewind a bit with James Clear's story.
Okay.
This guy had a rough start, right? I mean, serious baseball injury as a teen coma, like the whole 9 yards. Not exactly the ideal setup for success.
Precisely. And what is striking about his story is that it really wasn't some massive overnight transformation. Like, he really talks about focusing on these tiny, almost imperceptible daily improvements.
Yeah.
He calls them atomic habits because they're like building blocks, right? Individually insignificant, but collectively transformative over time.
So is it like one of those before and after photos where you see like somebody who lost a ton of weight?
Yes.
But you realize it was like this gradual process over months or sometimes even years. And it wasn't just like...
It wasn't a magic,
Yeah.
Poof.
Poof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Clear uses this brilliant visual of two curves, right? One slightly upward, one slightly downward.
Okay.
At first, the gap is tiny, but as time goes on, that gap becomes a chasm.
Yeah.
And it's that daily choices, like the small ones that we make, that really kind of create our future. And for you, think about learning. Like, imagine the difference between somebody who reviews their notes for 15 minutes every day versus somebody who doesn't.
Right.
In a year, the difference in their knowledge base would be
huge,
massive.
Yeah. Okay, that makes total sense. But what about goal setting?
Yeah.
I mean, aren't goals important too?
They certainly can be, but Clear raises this really interesting point about how a sole focus on goals can actually be counterproductive. Okay. Because we're always chasing that next achievement, we never really kind of feel content with where we are.
Oh, so instead of I'll be happy when, it's sort of like we should be building habits that make us happy right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where the identity piece comes into play.
Okay.
Clear argues that we should focus on building an identity that aligns with the person we want to become.
Ah.
So if you see yourself as a lifelong learner,
right,
someone who constantly absorbs new information, that's part of who you are.
Yeah. I love that. So it's not even I want to be a better learner. It's I am someone who learns efficiently.
Yes.
And
the actions will follow.
Yeah.
Naturally.
But how do we go from wanting a habit to actually doing it consistently?
Right.
Enter the habit loop.
Enter the habit loop.
Yeah.
This is central to Clear's whole approach.
Yeah.
He breaks down any habit, good or bad, into 4 stages.
Yeah.
Cue, craving, response, and reward.
Okay. Break it down.
So the cue, right. Anything that triggers your brain to initiate a behavior. So for our ancestors, these were survival cues.
Right.
Like spotting a ripe fruit tree or something like that. Yeah. Now they might be, I don't know, your phone buzzing with a notification. Okay. Or something.
Right. And then comes the craving, which is that feeling of, ooh, I want that.
Yes.
Whether it's the juicy fruit or
notification.
Whatever it is. And then you have the response, which is the actual action you take.
Okay.
So reaching for that fruit, swiping open your phone, whatever it may be.
And then the reward, which really kind of solidifies the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's that satisfying outcome that makes you want to repeat the whole cycle all over again.
Right.
So if we connect this to your goal of being a learning machine, like think about how you can manipulate these stages.
Oh, I'm already brainstorming. Like, what if my cue is like a specific time each day?
Yeah.
And then my craving is the feeling of accomplishment I get after learning something new.
Yeah.
My response is sitting down to study.
Yeah.
And my reward is a piece of dark chocolate.
I love it.
Yeah.
You're already starting to think like a habit architect.
Okay. This is getting me pumped.
Okay.
So once we've got our habit loop figured out, how do we actually make these good habits stick?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we all know motivation can be like fleeting.
It can be.
Right.
It absolutely can be. Yeah, that's the $1 million question, isn't it?
Right.
And one of the most effective strategies that Clear talks about is habit stacking. It's all about leveraging the power of existing habits
to
build new ones.
How does that work?
Think of it like this. So you already have a solid routine for brushing your teeth every morning.
Totally.
It's automatic, right? You don't even think about it.
Yeah.
So let's say you want to start meditating for a few minutes each day. Instead of trying to create a whole new habit, you simply stack it onto your existing brushing routine.
Oh.
You tell yourself, after I brush my teeth, I will meditate for 5 minutes.
So it's like piggybacking.
It is.
On that
neural
pathway.
Neural pathway. Wow.
And here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
For your learning girls.
Okay.
What if, after every study session, you immediately reward yourself with something enjoyable?
Okay.
A quick walk.
Yeah.
A few minutes of your favorite music. Whatever truly motivates you.
That's brilliant. It's like you're training your brain to associate.
Learning with something positive?
Yes.
No wonder my chocolate-loving neurons were already on board with that.
I know, right?
But what about bad habits?
Yeah.
The ones that seem to, like, have a life of their own.
Right.
Like, is there a way to hack the habit loop?
Absolutely.
To break those too?
So one of the most effective strategies is making bad habits invisible.
Okay.
And unsatisfying.
Okay.
So think about it. If something's out of sight, it's out of mind.
Right. Oh, tell me about it.
What's your weakness?
Oh, late night snack raids on the pantry.
Oh, the pantry.
Yeah.
Okay, so imagine if you simply moved those tempting snacks to a less accessible spot.
Okay.
Maybe like a high shelf in the back of the pantry.
Yeah.
Or better yet, don't even buy them in the first place. You know, increase the friction.
Right.
Make it a little bit harder to give in to that craving.
And hopefully out of sight, out of mind. Right. What about those cravings that are like more mental than physical? Like constantly checking social media or just that urge to like procrastinate on a challenging project.
That's where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
Clear talks about the power of reframing our cravings. So instead of viewing them as enemies to be fought, what if we see them as opportunities to practice self-control and make a conscious choice?
So it's almost like those cravings become like a mental training ground.
They do.
That can help us like strengthen our decision-making muscle.
You're getting it.
Okay.
And you can also try shifting your focus from what you're giving up to what you're gaining.
Right.
By resisting that bad habit.
Okay.
So instead of saying, ugh, I can't check social media, you say, by focusing on this task, I'm gaining valuable time and mental energy for things that matter more to me.
That's a really powerful shift in perspective.
It is.
Instead of feeling deprived, you're actually, reminding yourself of the positive outcomes
of your choices.
Okay, so we've covered creating cues, stacking habits, reframing cravings. Is there anything else?
Rewards.
Oh, rewards. Yes, rewards.
This is where rewards come in.
Yes.
They are essential for reinforcing those behaviors we want to cultivate. Especially those with delayed gratification. I mean, let's face it. Our brains love instant rewards.
No, instant gratification is my middle name.
I hear you.
But seriously, how do we bridge that gap between doing something good for our future selves, but still getting that like dopamine hit that our brains crave?
So Clear gives this great example of this couple who wanted to save for a trip to Europe. And they made a pact to transfer $50 to their savings account every time. They resisted the temptation to eat out.
I love that. It's like they gamified their savings goal.
They did.
And it ties back into that identity thing we were talking about, right?
It does.
Like if you see yourself as someone who saves for meaningful experiences, then transferring that money
becomes the reward.
Becomes a reward in itself.
Yes.
Okay, so we're creating cues, we're stacking habits, we're reframing cravings, we're rewarding ourselves like champs.
I love it.
What about keeping track of all this? Any tips?
So tracking's crucial. Because it makes our progress visible and tangible. It gives us that sense of accomplishment. And helps us stay motivated.
And you can geek out with all kinds of methods, right?
You can.
Like apps, journals, even a simple calendar on the fridge.
Whatever works.
Whatever works for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And for that extra layer of motivation, consider an accountability partner.
Okay.
Could be a friend, family member, or even an online group. Having someone to share your goals with.
Right.
And to celebrate those wins.
Yeah.
And even commiserate over those inevitable slip-ups.
Right.
Can make a huge difference.
I've definitely found that to be true in my own life.
Yeah.
There's something about declaring your intentions out loud.
I agree.
That makes them feel...
It does.
More real, more urgent.
It does.
And knowing that someone's cheering you on can make those tough days a lot easier.
Absolutely. Like having a built-in support system to help you stay on track.
Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground here.
We have.
From the habit loop to habit stacking, from rewards to accountability. We've got like a whole arsenal of tools for building better habits.
We do.
But before we wrap up this part,
yeah.
How do we actually choose the right habits?
Right.
The ones that are like most likely to lead to that learning machine.
That's the million-dollar question.
Right.
And it's a very personal one.
Yeah.
The best habits are those that align with your natural abilities, your interests, your goals.
So it's all about playing to our strengths.
It is.
And following our passions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's also about finding that sweet spot between challenge and enjoyment.
Okay.
What Clear calls the Goldilocks rule.
Okay.
You know, if it's too easy, it's boring.
Right.
Too hard, it's demotivating.
Goldilocks zone for habits.
That's it.
Got it.
You got it.
But with all this talk about efficiency, I'm curious.
Yeah.
Are there any specific habits that you've seen?
Oh, absolutely.
That are particularly effective?
Oh, yeah.
For maximizing learning?
One that stands out is this concept of spaced repetition.
Spaced repetition.
Spaced repetition.
Yeah, okay. Spaced repetition. So how does that work?
It's based on the idea that our brains, you know, they forget information over time.
Right.
But each time we review something, we slow down that forgetting process.
Okay.
So instead of like cramming everything all at once, you space out your study sessions, revisiting the material at increasingly longer intervals.
So it's almost like you're just reminding your brain, hey, remember this. This is important.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And there are tons of tools and apps that can help you implement spaced repetition.
Okay.
I mean, you could even use something as simple as flashcards.
Oh, wow.
You know?
Okay. So much for my excuse of, oh, I just don't have a good memory.
Right.
It sounds like it's more about how to approach learning than some like innate ability.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And another really powerful habit for learning is active recall.
Active recall. Okay.
It's all about forcing your brain to actually retrieve information from memory.
Okay.
Instead of passively rereading notes or textbooks.
So instead of just highlighting everything, I should be like actively trying to quiz myself.
Quiz yourself. Create your own practice questions.
Wow.
Or even just try to explain the concepts out loud. To yourself. Or to somebody else.
That's a game changer.
It is.
That makes so much sense. It's like turning learning into a much more engaging and
interactive process. And when you combine active recall with spaced repetition, then you've got a really powerful system for long-term learning and retention.
This is blowing my mind.
Good.
No more cramming for me.
I love it.
All right, so we've got spaced repetition, we've got active recall. Any other secret weapons?
One that's often overlooked is sleep.
Oh, sleep.
Deep sleep.
Okay.
It's during those precious hours of slumber that our brains consolidate memories and make connections.
So like almost like your brain's filing system is organizing all the information you've taken in during the day.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, so all those late night study sessions might actually be backfiring on me.
Yeah.
All right, adding get enough sleep to my to-do list right now.
Love it.
But seriously, this has been such an eye-opening, deep dive. I feel like I have like a whole new understanding of how habits work and how I can use them to upgrade my learning game.
Good. So, and remember, start small.
Yeah.
Stay consistent.
Okay.
Personalize your approach.
Right. There's no need to like overhaul my entire life overnight. Right. Just focus on those small
atomic changes.
That
over time will lead to huge results.
Perfect. All right. Well, this has been awesome.
It's been fun.
Thank you so much for taking the time to unpack all this with me.
My pleasure.
I feel like I'm finally ready to unlock my full learning potential.
You've got this.
Awesome.
You've got the power to create the future. You want one habit at a time.